Chapter 41. You bully people too much. You bully us ordinary people because you have money and power. Come and see, Miss Sue is bullying people. Delia wouldn't wipe David's clothes. She couldn't get over that hurdle in her heart. David has always been obedient to her, licking dogs, but now she is suddenly asked about a David, she can't do it. At this time, Delia pretended to be weak, hoping to get the pity and help of the people around her. Snapped. Just when Delia wanted to seek help from the people around her, Sonia stepped forward and slapped Delia without any hesitation. What nonsense, I'll let you wipe it off now, Sonia said to Delia in an unquestionable tone. Delia covered her face and looked at the crowd around her, but no one helped out, and she was even a little timid. She had already left in a hurry and did not dare to stay any longer. The helpless Delia looked at Sonia's cold look. She could only take out a tissue, walked slowly to David, and squatted down to wipe the saliva off David's clothes. David looked down at Delia with a sneer on his face, but just when Delia was about to wipe it off for David, David avoided it. Delia was stunned for a moment, then looked up at David. I'm afraid your hands will stain my clothes. After David finished speaking, he wiped it off with a tissue. You. Delia's chest heaved angrily. She didn't know how to refute. Let's go. David took Sonia's hand and strode out of the mall. Delia looked at the backs of the two. Her whole body was shaking with anger. She gritted her teeth and said, David, you ba-5-tard, I will never let you go. But David had already walked out of the mall and couldn't hear it. You're quite saucy today. It doesn't match your identity as the eldest lady of the Sue family. If this is spread out, it won't affect you well. Walking out of the mall, David looked at Sonia and said, I don't care if she's good or not, I get angry when I see that Delia. Sonia gritted her teeth, and her face was still angry, but then she looked at David. Are you scared by me? No. David smiled and shook his head. When you show off your power, it's quite tasteful. Since you like it, then I'll be angry with you every day, right? Sonia turned her eyes. Don't. David waved his hands again and again, and immediately changed the subject and asked, where are you taking me by dressing me up like this? Today, there is a big banquet at our Regal Hotel, and all the people of Horrendal will be present. I heard that the conditions for participating are very strict, and they are not allowed to bring their families, but this is in our own hotel. I don't need an invitation. Bring you in, so that you can get acquainted with the famous people in Horrendal. Sonia was not selling a lawsuit, and followed David truthfully. After David heard it, he was a little bit dumbfounded. Gu Wenchen held a big banquet for him, and now Sonia wanted to sneak him in. What are you laughing at? What I said is true, and this time the ancient banquet was held to introduce a friend to the big brothers in Horrendal. Now they are all guessing who this ancient friend is. Do you know how many people want to attend this banquet, but don't have the qualifications and opportunities at all? If the banquet is not held at the Regal Hotel, I have no chance to bring you in, so you have to behave well. Sonia followed David and exhorted. Okay, I'll do well. David smiled. He didn't tell Sonia the truth, he just wanted to surprise her. Before he knew it, David could also feel the change in his heart towards Sonia. Although neither of the two said anything, there were some things that he could feel, tacitly aware of it. Chapter 42. Horrendal Hospital. Xiao Yan hurried over, threw a suit to Jordan and said, put your clothes on and follow me. Dad, I'm recovering, where should I go? Jordan asked with a puzzled look. Take you to a banquet. Xiao Yan said. Don't go, my arm is broken, and I am recovering from the injury. What kind of banquet are you attending? When Jordan heard this, he immediately lost interest. He has attended a lot of banquets, nothing more than eating and drinking, touting each other, and wearing a suit very cautiously. He is not willing to go. You ba-5-tard, do you know who held the banquet this time? It's ancient. The whole of Horrendal has gone. You show me well this time. In the future, the Xiao family's property will be handed over to you. Don't lose me. Xiao Yan slapped Jordan's head and said. When he heard that it was an ancient banquet, Jordan didn't dare to say anything, and hurriedly changed his clothes, but he broke an arm, and Jordan himself couldn't change it at all. Where's your girlfriend? Where did she go when she's not here to take care of you? Let her change it for you. At 11 o'clock at the Regal Hotel, don't be late for me. I have other things to do. After Xiao Yan finished speaking, he left. Jordan looked at the time and didn't dare to delay. He called Delia and called Delia back directly. At 10:30 at noon, the entire Regal Hotel was full of luxury cars, and people with dignity in the political and business circles arrived early. They greeted each other one by one, then took the invitations in their hands and walked into the hotel one after another. However, those accompanying family members could only wait outside the hotel. The reason why Gu Wenchen only invited the helmsman of each family or department for this banquet was to reduce the number of people at the banquet. He was afraid that there would be too many people and it would make a mess, and David was annoyed. Jordan also came with one arm on his back, while Delia supported him. Seeing so many bigwigs at the scene, Delia's heart almost jumped out of excitement. You stand here for me, don't make trouble for me, this time it's not ordinary people. Xiao Yan exhorted Jordan. Dad, I'm not going in. Jordan was stunned and called him, but he was not allowed in. Nonsense, this banquet invites all the heads of households or leaders at all levels, what qualifications do you have? Xiao Yan glared at Jordan and said. Jordan suddenly became a little unhappy. Don't let me in, why do you call me here? I'll be sunburned to death. Listening to Jordan's words, Xiao Yan really wanted to give him 2 kicks. There are so many people waiting outside. Could it be that these are all fools? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It is always good for the development of our company to make more friends, but it is a pity that Jordan will eat, drink, and have fun, regardless of other things. Remember, if I can't see you when I come out, I will cut off your pocket money for half a year. Xiao Yan threatened Jordan. He was really afraid that Jordan would run back if he was unhappy. Hearing that half a year's pocket money was cut off, Jordan shuddered in fright and nodded again and again. I'm not leaving, I'll stay here. Xiao Yan walked into the hotel with confidence. Jordan and Delia could only bask in the sun at the door. At this time, David and Sonia also arrived. Wait for me here, I'll make arrangements, and we'll sneak in through the back door in a while. After getting off the car, Sonia said to David. David nodded. Sonia went to arrange it, while David stood there a little bored. These people came from the upper class, and David didn't know any of them, so he could only play with his mobile phone in a boring way. The sharp-eyed Delia saw David at a glance. Seeing that David was unattended and playing with her mobile phone, Delia sneered suddenly. Brother Lei, isn't that David? Is he worthy of attending the banquet? Delia whispered to Jordan. Chapter 43. Jordan looked at it and saw that it was David. A cold light flashed in his eyes and walked over. Seeing this, Delia hurriedly followed, staring at David with resentment in her eyes. Delia still remembers the scene in the mall just now. David, are you even worthy of coming here? Do you know what kind of people are here? Jordan looked at David with an air of arrogance. When you wear new clothes, you think you are high class. David gave Jordan a cold look, but did not take care of him. David, what about the frenzied appearance in the mall? What about your beautiful Miss Sue? Why didn't she take you in? Can't she even get in by herself? Bah! Delia spat fiercely again. David took a sip. This time Jordan was there. She couldn't believe it and dared to let her wipe it off. David's face was slightly cold. Remember, I will make you lick it off like a dog in a while. Ha ha ha, bah! Delia laughed and spit again. Who do you think you are? And let me lick it off for you. Aren't you a prisoner of labor reform? What's amazing? Everyone, take a look. A labor prisoner even dressed like a dog and wanted to go to a banquet, and he didn't take a piss to take care of himself. Delia shouted, attracting many people to watch. David looked indifferent, quietly watching Delia's hard-working performance. Jordan, who is this person? Look at the face. At this time, a young man of the same age as Jordan asked. You must know that the people who come here are all people with heads and faces in Horrendal, or family members, who know or have met each other. But looking at David's face, he didn't look like someone from the upper-class circle, so someone asked Jordan curiously. He is my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. He was my girlfriend's licking dog for 3 years, and he didn't even pull his hand. Later, I got him into prison and served 3 years in prison. It was just 2 days ago. Jordan explained with a sneer. Jordan said this, and the people around him cast contempt at David. People with noble status like them disdained to stand with David, a prisoner of reform through labor. Everyone avoided David far away, whispering and sarcastic, but David looked indifferent, as if he hadn't heard it. David, you have a thick skin in the prison. You are already like this. Do you still have the face to stay here? Seeing that David didn't seem to care, Delia said with a cold expression. David. At this moment, Sonia had already made arrangements and walked over. When she saw Delia and Jordan, she frowned. What are you two doing here? Of course we are here for the banquet. Delia said proudly. With Jordan by her side, she doesn't need to be afraid of Sonia. PFFT. Sonia laughed when she heard it. Why don't you go in at the banquet? Is there no invitation, so you won't be allowed in at all? Delia opened her mouth, but didn't say anything, because they really couldn't get in without an invitation. Seeing Delia's deflated appearance, Sonia raised the corner of her mouth slightly, took David's hand and said, "Come on, let's go in." Seeing that Sonia and David were going in, Delia was taken aback. "Do you have invitations?" "I won't tell you," Sonia said with a proud smile. Delia was about to die of anger, but when she saw Sonia and David walking towards the back door, she immediately reacted. "Brother Lay, they are planning to sneak in from the back, and they have no invitations." Jordan also found out, and hurriedly stepped forward to stop David and Sonia. "You two don't have invitations, how can you sneak in through the back door? I want to report you." "Jordan, are you a slacker? This Regal Hotel belongs to our family. I can enter wherever I like. I jump in from the window, can you control it?" Sonia glanced at Jordan and said with a look of evil. Jordan was suddenly choked and had nothing to say. "You guys take good care of the two of them. If they dare to enter through the back door, call me out," Sonia told several security guards. "Got it, miss." Several security guards directly stared at Delia and Jordan. Sonia dragged David into the hotel through the back door, and looking at the backs of the two, Jordan and Delia stomped their feet angrily. Chapter 44. After David entered the hotel, he sent a message to Lin Tianyu, asking Lin Tianyu to drive Xiao Yan away. He didn't want to sit and eat with the Xiao family, and he didn't want the Xiao family to know too much about his identity. Let's see how long Jordan and Delia can jump. Inside the hotel, everyone surrounded Ji Yuwenshin with respect, and some people knew that Ji Yuwenshin likes to collect antiques, so they searched everywhere, and then came to give it to Ji Yuwenshin. Beside Ji Yuwenshin, a burly middle-aged man with a grim face is always vigilant. This person is Ji Yuwenshin's personal bodyguard Tang Long, who once retired from the Dragon Squadron and once Ji Yuwenshin was still in power. At that time, he would protect himself closely. Now that Ji Yuwenshin has retreated, Tang Long has also retreated, protecting Ji Yuwenshin's safety all the time. As long as Ji Yuwenshin attends public occasions, he will always take Tang Long by his side to protect his own safety. Everyone, I am entertaining you today. One is not to receive gifts, and the other is not to talk about things. I just want to introduce a new friend to you. You don't have to be too cautious. Ji Yuwenshin waved his hand to make everyone quiet, and then said loudly. In fact, many people have heard about it for a long time, but now that Ji Yuwenshin said it again, everyone couldn't help but be surprised. They didn't know what kind of terrifying background the person introduced by Ji Yuwenshin would have. Not so much fanfare. Why hasn't Mr. Chen come yet? Ji Yuwenshin looked at the time and asked Lin Tianyu beside him. Maybe soon. Lin Tianyu didn't know why David hadn't arrived yet, but he said it well yesterday. As soon as Lin Tianyu finished speaking, the phone rang. Seeing that it was David's message, Lin Tianyu gave Ji Yuwenshin a look at the message. Ji Yuwenshin looked at the message and nodded slightly. No wonder Mr. Chen hasn't shown up yet, so that's what happened, I didn't think it through. After Ji Yuwenshin finished speaking, he glanced at Xiao Yan who was not far away. At this time, Xiao Yan was also waiting for the young man Ji Yuwenshin said to appear. The person who could be so important to Ji Yuwenshin was definitely not an ordinary person. If they can cling to such a person, the Xiao family might be able to surpass the Su family. Just as Xiao Yan was thinking, Ji Yuwenshin looked at him and said, Boss Xiao. Ji Yu. When Xiao Yan heard this, he hurriedly stepped forward. What is Gu's order? Today's banquet, you are not suitable to attend, go back. In front of everyone, Ji Yuwenshin directly ordered Xiao Yan to evict him. When Xiao Yan heard this, he was stunned and looked at Ji Yuwenshin in disbelief. Ancient, I. But Ji Yuwenshin didn't wait for Xiao Yan to finish speaking, he directly waved his hand, see off the guest. Seeing this, Xiao Yan was very surprised, but he couldn't stay here any longer, so he could only helplessly turn around and leave. This time, everyone speculated that the Xiao family had offended Ji Yu. At this time, Sonia had sneaked in with David, and the two of them were watching secretly in a corner. Let's hide first, the banquet will start in a while, and we are going out, so that it will not be easy to be discovered. Sonia sneaked her head out and looked at it and said. Why do you hide? Since you're in, it would be nice to go out generously. After David finished speaking, he went straight out. Sonia was startled and hurried forward to pull David, but she didn't hold back. Coming. After seeing David, Lin Tianyu said happily. Ji Yu Wenshin raised his eyes and saw David coming. His expression suddenly brightened, and he quickly walked towards David. At this time, Reuben, who was in the crowd, saw David appear, and Ji Yu Wenshin walked towards David, and suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. This was what he asked Sonia to sneak into David. If Ji Yu Wenshin knew about it now, would it still be worth it? Chapter 45. Reuben quickly walked to the front, winked desperately at David, told David to leave quickly, and then stopped Ji Yu Wenshin. Ji Yu, this person is a waiter in our hotel, he should go the wrong way, run, come here. Sonia had already caught up with David at this time, dragged David and left, and said, how do you work? Don't look at the road, come here. Wait a minute. Ji Yu Wenshin called out to Sonia directly. Sonia stopped, and then let go of David in her hands. Ji Yu, it was my poor arrangement that let the servants break in, and I will give Ji Yu an explanation later. Reuben broke out in a cold sweat, for fear that Ji Yu Wenshin would be angry. Ji Yu Wenshin was stunned. You said that Mr. Chen is a servant of your family. Yeah. Reuben nodded, but was quickly taken aback. Chen, Mr. Chen. Reuben didn't understand. How did Ji Yu Wenshin know that David's surname was Chen? Why do you still call Mr.? Yes, my banquet this time is mainly to invite Mr. Chen, you are just to accompany. Ji Yu Wenshin nodded. This time, Reuben and Sonia were a little stunned and couldn't figure out what was going on. Ancient, hope I'm not too late. David took 2 steps forward and smiled slightly. Mr. Chen came at the right time, I don't know this is. Ji Yu Wenshin pointed at Sonia behind David and asked. Ancient, this is the little girl, she is friends with Mr. Chen. Reuben is indeed an old man who has been in the mall for a long time, and he reacted immediately. When Ji Yu Wenshin heard this, he immediately laughed. Heroes and beautiful women are the perfect match in the world. After Ji Yu Wenshin said this, the others praised David and Sonia one after another. Sonia blushed so brightly that she didn't dare to look up. Mr. Chen, please take your seat, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Lin Tianyu stepped forward and followed David in a gesture of invitation. David was also not polite, and walked straight to the main seat. A group of people swarmed around David. Although they didn't know who David was, what they could know was that David would definitely be a powerful person in Horrendal in the future. Figure. Ji Yu Wenshin and Lin Tianyu are both such respectful people, and they are also the son-in-law of the richest man, the Su family. Who would dare to offend such a person? Reuben and Sonia looked at each other and followed. After David was seated, Ji Yu Wenshin sat beside David, while the other side was empty, no one dared to do it. Miss Su, this place is reserved for you, you two should sit together. Ji Yu Wenshin waved after Sonia with a smile on his face. Sonia blushed and sat beside David shyly. Sonia's next position was Reuben. Originally, it was supposed to be for Lin Tianyu, but now if David and Sonia are boyfriend and girlfriend, then Reuben is David's. Old man, Lin Tianyu dare not sit on top of Reuben. After everyone was seated, Ji Yu Wenshin picked up a glass of wine and said to David, Mr. Chen, this first glass of wine, I will be the first to salute you. Ji Yu Wenshin knew very well that after he had toasted the first cup of wine, he would not need to take care of the rest of the matter. None of the people sitting here would know what to do. Old polite. David picked up the glass and drank it lightly. Just when David put down his wine glass, Ji Yu Wenshin was suddenly stunned, because he saw that David's brand new suit was actually spat on. Mr. Chen, your clothes are. Ji Yu Wenshin pointed at the spittle on David's clothes and asked. This is when I was outside and was spat twice by someone with no quality. David said lightly. Who is so bold to spit Mr. Chen? Ji Yu Wenshin's face was angry, his eyes swept to everyone present. You must know that those people outside are sitting on the family members brought by these people, so Ji Yu Wenshin will look at the people present. At this time, everyone's heart suddenly bulged, and their hearts continued to bless, hoping that it wasn't their own family who did it. Chapter 46. Ancient, it was the girlfriend of Jordan, the son-in-law of the Xiao family. That woman used to be Mr. Chen's girlfriend, and now she is next to the Xiao family. She feels like a superior person, so she spat at Mr. Chen. Sonia said. The Xiao family, you are really brave, I will call that Xiao Yan to ask now. Ji Yu Wenshin frowned and slapped the table fiercely. He also knew why David sent a message to drive that Xiao Yan away. It turned out that there was such a festival with the Xiao family. And the people present also understood in an instant. This time they knew that the Xiao family was going to be unlucky. It seems that the business dealings with the Xiao family should be cut off quickly. Ancient, calm down. This kind of trivial matter, I can handle it myself. David smiled lightly, not paying attention at all. At this time, Jordan and Delia were like ants in his eyes. Outside the hotel, the poisonous sunlight made Jordan a little upset. Brother Lay, drink some water. Delia handed Jordan a bottle of water. Jordan took a big gulp, rubbed the sweat on his forehead, and muttered softly, I can't go in, what are you waiting for here? I'm really sick. Although he complained, Jordan did not dare to leave. He was really afraid that his father would cut off his pocket money for half a year. Just when Jordan was drinking water, he found that his father came out of the hotel. Jordan was overjoyed and hurriedly said, My dad is out, we must be able to go in. Jordan and Delia hurriedly greeted him. Dad, why did you come out? Can we go in now? Jordan asked excitedly. Go in the F. Art, I've been kicked out. Xiao Yan said angrily. Jordan was stunned for a moment, and then said, Dad, what's going on? Why did you drive you out? How would I know? Xiao Yan glared at Jordan angrily. Don't be ashamed here, go back with me. He came in a hurry, and now he can only go back in despair. Jordan and Delia didn't even go in the door. The banquet has already started, and after about 2 hours, the banquet is coming to an end. Everyone's face is red and the conversation is very happy. David, when did you meet Ji-Yu? And Ji-Yu was so polite to you. You are the protagonist of this banquet, and you didn't even tell me. Finally, Sonia seized the opportunity, pulled David aside, and asked very dissatisfied. At that time, you took me away in a hurry, and you didn't say that you came to the banquet. I found out later, and I wanted to surprise you. David laughed. Your surprise is really big. I was scared to death at the time. You are so bad, you can't hide anything from me in the future. Sonia punched David in the chest. The force was very light, it was completely flirtatious. David grabbed Sonia's hand, and the two looked at each other. No words, no communication, only eye contact. David slowly approached Sonia. Sonia wanted to hide, but did not move. Her heart was very contradictory. Seeing that David was about to KSS, Sonia closed her eyes and waited for that moment to come. You got something on your face. But just as Sonia was nervously waiting for that moment, David suddenly said such a sentence. Sonia opened her eyes and saw David looking at herself with a wicked smile. Damn, I'm ignoring you. Sonia punched David fiercely and ran away blushing. At this time, Reuben watched his daughter run away with a blushing face, also smiled slightly, and walked towards David. Mr. Chen, do you have any plans for your future? Do you want to start your own company? Reuben asked David. David immediately shook his head. I don't want to. David wants to cultivate now and improve his strength as soon as possible. As for starting a company and doing business, David really doesn't like it, nor is he good at it. Chapter 47. Seeing David shaking his head so happily, Reuben was stunned for a moment, but he quickly smiled and said, That's okay, this girl Sonia doesn't look like a girl, but she is very good at running a company and doing business, just have her. After Reuben finished speaking, he left. David looked at Reuben's back and smiled helplessly. He could understand what Reuben thought. After all, he is only Sonia's daughter. In the future, all business will be handed over to Sonia. If he and Sonia really come together, such a large business will always need someone to support him. Soon, everyone was full and ready to leave, saying goodbye to each other. But at this moment, the door of the banquet was suddenly pushed open, and then dozens of people broke in, all of them holding weapons. Seeing these people who suddenly broke in, everyone present was shocked, but Ji-Yu Wenshin's face turned cold, and Tang Long, the bodyguard beside him, rushed directly to his waist and pulled out a half-foot-long machete, guarding Ji-Yu Wenshin. In front of you. Security, where's the security? Seeing someone rushing in, Reuben shouted loudly, but no security guard came in. Mr. Su, don't shout, none of your security guards can get in. The visitor said coldly. Feng Sihai, you suddenly brought someone in, what do you want to do? You must know that this is a banquet prepared by the ancients. Reuben asked loudly. It turns out that these people are all members of the Chelong gang, and the leader is Feng Sihai. Feng Sihai walked quickly to Ji-Yu Wenshin, bowed and said, Ji-Yu, I don't mean to disturb, I just came to find Lin Tianyu. At this time, Lin Tianyu had already clenched his fists, and as soon as Feng Sihai entered the door, he knew he was here for him. Juidong and Chalong Gang are mortal enemies, and the two are also deadly enemies, but for the time being, no one can do anything to the other. Usually, Lin Tianyu would bring many brothers to attend meetings, but this time around Ji Wenchen, Lin Tianyu was a little careless and didn't bring his subordinates. Another reason was that David was there, so Lin Tianyu was relieved. This Feng Sihai must have received the news, so he brought people here. As long as Lin Tianyu is killed, Juitong will be headless, and will soon be annexed by the Chalong Gang. I don't care who you are looking for, but can you break into my banquet at will? Ji Wenchen asked with a cold face. Ancient, as I said, I was just looking for Lin Tianyu to settle accounts, and breaking in was a last resort. Feng Sihai said respectfully. Ba 5 tard. Ji Wenchen suddenly slapped the table. Are you trying to go against me? Ancient, I don't want to fight against you, but I also don't want to let Lin Tianyu go. This kind of opportunity is a rare opportunity. Besides, for such an important banquet in ancient times, only Lin Tianyu was invited, but Feng Sihai was not invited. This is obviously because I don't like my Chalong. Help. Feng Sihai said, neither humble nor arrogant, obviously because Ji Wenchen didn't invite him. The reason why Ji Wenchen didn't invite Feng Sihai at that time was because the hatred between him and Lin Tianyu was too deep and it was not convenient to come here. Feng Sihai, are you? Ji Wenchen's face flushed with anger when he saw that Feng Sihai was not giving face. But before he could finish speaking, Lin Tianyu stood up and said, the husband does everything alone, and since you came after me, let's compare. After Lin Tianyu finished speaking, he immediately took a stance, ready to respond to Feng Sihai's attack at any time. There is a kind, then I will kill you today and take your Juitong into the bag. Feng Sihai said, striding towards Lin Tianyu. Chapter 48. Presumptuous. Ji Wenchen slapped the table fiercely, and his whole body was full of anger. Everyone present was frightened by Ji Wenchen's anger. Tang Long, who was beside Ji Wenchen, saw Ji Wenchen's anger. He jumped up and landed firmly in front of Lin Tianyu. Feng Sihai, don't give the old face, you are courting death. Tang Long burst out with a strong fighting spirit, and the bones on his body were crackling. Feng Sihai stopped attacking, frowned and looked at Tang Long. Tang Long, if you fight to the death today, you may not be able to beat me, not to mention that I still have dozens of subordinates. HMPH, whether you can win or not, you will only know if you try. Tang Long snorted coldly and took a stand. Ancient, I didn't want to be an enemy of you, but you keep pushing me, and I'm not easy to mess with the Chalong Gang. It's a big deal, and no one here will want to go out alive. A cold glow flashed in Feng Sihai's eyes, and it seemed that he had already made desperate preparations. Ji Wenchen's face was flushed, and his whole body was trembling slightly by Feng Sihai's anger. No one in Horrendal did not give him face, but today Feng Sihai has made him lose face. However, looking at the dozens of murderous subordinates behind Feng Sihai, Ji Wenchen was also a little embarrassed. Feng Sihai had come prepared, he was going to get into trouble, things were really not easy to handle. Ancient, let me and Feng Sihai make a break today, you all don't care. Lin Tianyu saw that Ji Wenchen was in a dilemma, and after speaking, he took the initiative to attack Feng Sihai. Lin Tianyu punched out, with a whistling sound, extremely fast, and his strength exploded to the extreme. He knew that fighting with Feng Sihai could not have the slightest reservation. When Feng Sihai saw that Lin Tianyu actually took the initiative to attack, his face suddenly sneered. He did not dodge or dodge, facing Lin Tianyu's punch. Bang! Lin Tianyu smashed Feng Sihai's chest with a punch, and a huge counterattack caused Lin Tianyu to step back 3 steps, but Feng Sihai didn't move at all, not even injured at all. Lin Tianyu's face was a little pale, and he looked at Feng Sihai in horror. At this time, Feng Sihai's strength has increased a lot. Ha ha ha, Lin Tianyu, your punch is like tickling, don't stop, keep hitting. Feng Sihai raised his head and laughed loudly, not taking Lin Tianyu into his eyes at all. Lin Tianyu is also considered a hero, and he can't stand Feng Sihai's public humiliation and provocation. After shouting angrily, he walked towards Feng Sihai again, but this time Lin Tianyu grabbed a solid wood stool. Wow! The stool slammed into Feng Sihai's body, and instantly shattered, while Feng Sihai was still standing lightly, not moving. Lin Tianyu, my hard qigong has been completed, you can't hurt me, now it's my turn. After Feng Sihai finished speaking, he kicked at Lin Tianyu. Lin Tianyu couldn't dodge, and was kicked out by Feng Sihai. A mouthful of blood spurted out and fell to the ground. The severe pain made Lin Tianyu's face extremely hideous. Looking at Lin Tianyu's appearance, David frowned and was about to get up, but was stopped by Sonia. Don't be arrogant, this guy seems to be very good at fighting, you are not necessarily an opponent. Sonia is afraid that David can't beat Feng Sihai and is injured. She still doesn't know the relationship between David and Lin Tianyu. No matter how powerful Feng Sihai is, David will not sit idly by. Before David could do anything, Ji Wenchen said, Tang Long, teach him a lesson. Tang Long nodded, clenched his fists, and rushed directly to Feng Sihai. In the face of Tang Long's attack, Feng Sihai will not be so relaxed, and he will not dare to stand and let others hit him. You must know that Tang Long's punch, whether it is strength or speed, is stronger than Lin Tianyu, and has reached the extreme. Chapter 49. Feng Sihai turned sideways, dodging Tang Long's punch, and after dodging Tang Long, Feng Sihai did not take action, but looked at Ji Wenchen and said, Ji, I said that I don't want to be your enemy, you really do you want to force me? Ji Wenchen's face was gloomy and he didn't speak. And that Tang Long was so easily escaped by Feng Sihai, he suddenly felt that his face was completely lost, and he said angrily, stop talking nonsense, take the trick. Tang Long swung his fist backwards and threw it directly at Feng Sihai. If this punch hits, his brains will be thrown out. Feng Sihai's eyes narrowed, and his face was also angrily said, if that's the case, then I'm welcome. After finishing speaking, Feng Sihai, a catcher, grabbed Tang Long's wrist directly, and then swung it towards Tang Long with a left hook. Tang Long was startled, his head turned slightly to the side, and then kicked out, trying to force Feng Sihai back. But Feng Sihai didn't hide, and let Tang Long kick him in the chest. The huge anti-shock force made Tang Long's body directly fly out. Tang Long managed to stabilize his body, but looking at the surprised expressions of the people around him, he suddenly burst into anger. Feng Sihai, today must be divided between you and me. With that said, Tang Long charged towards Feng Sihai again. Stop. Just as Tang Long rushed towards Feng Sihai, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Tang Long and stopped Tang Long directly. You are not his opponent, and it is meaningless to fight, I will come. David stopped Tang Long and said. Tang Long felt a burst of humiliation, and said sternly, let's go, with your physique, I'm afraid that one punch will kill you. At this time, Tang Long had already lost his mind, and he even spoke rudely to David. He had forgotten the identity of David. That was an existence that even Ji Wenchen respected. However, Tang Long has not seen David's ability, so in his heart, he does not have much respect for David, just because of Ji Wenchen's face. The way of martial arts is gradually advancing. David is only a young man in his early 20s. Even if he learns martial arts from his mother's womb, how powerful can he be? Shut up, Ba Five Tard, you dare to be disrespectful to Mr. Chen. Ji Wenchen immediately reprimanded Tang Long when he saw that Tang Long had spoken unkindly to David. You must know that Ji Wenchen seldom taught Tang Long, and never regarded Tang Long as a servant, but today Tang Long actually said David, how could Ji Wenchen dare to let him have his temper? Tang Long closed his mouth, but he didn't have much respect for David in his eyes. What he was afraid of was Ji Wenchen, not David. At this time, Sonia also came up, pulled David and said, don't be rude, don't you see that even Lin Tianyu and Tang Long are not opponents? You are a medical student, don't follow me. Sonia thought that David only knew medical skills and nothing else. Today is such a suitable occasion, I should show it well, otherwise, how can I be a poor boy like you, the eldest daughter of gold? When Sonia heard this, her face suddenly became shy. This was the first time David said such a thing in public. Wouldn't that be the same as confessing to her? I don't care what you look like, I just don't let you take risks. Sonia took David's arm and prevented David from doing it. Hurry up and step back, your fists and feet have no eyes, it's not your time to be brave. Seeing that David came up to show himself, Tang Long said with a look of disdain. After speaking, Tang Long jumped up again and attacked Feng Sihai. Hey, it's said that you are not an opponent, but you are beaten up, you are really stubborn. David shook his head helplessly. Stop talking, go back. Sonia pulled David to sit back again. Tang Long jumped up this time, but just as he moved forward, he was kicked on the chest by Feng Sihai, and blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Ji Wenchen and the people present watched this scene, each and everyone was shocked. Chapter 50. Tang Long's face was also hot. He could clearly feel that Feng Sihai didn't use all his strength, but as Ji Wenchen's personal bodyguard, and in front of so many people, Tang Long's face really had no place to rest. Now he would rather be beaten to death by Feng Sihai than admit defeat. You must know that people who practice martial arts regard their face as more important than their lives. If he admits defeat today, his reputation in the future of Tang Long will also stink. I am afraid that he will not want to mix in the circle in the future. Ji Yu Wenchen will not be there either. Use him. Feng Sihai, use all your strength. I can die today, but I must not lose. After Tang Long finished speaking, his face became flushed, and his body began to slowly swell up. Storm Fist. Tang Long let out a loud shout, and his bulging body seemed to be deflated in an instant, and it recovered as before, but Tang Long's body rushed out like a cannonball. Feng Sihai frowned. It seems that you won't give up if you don't show the trick. Feng Sihai squatted slightly with his legs, and cracks appeared on the marble floor under his feet, but Feng Sihai's clothes rose automatically without wind. I fought with you. Tang Long's eyes began to turn a little scarlet, and he punched Feng Sihai fiercely. Bang. The huge sound, like thunder in the sky, made everyone cover their ears. Feng Sihai didn't move, he didn't even shake his figure, let alone injured. Tang Long was stunned for a moment, but then the rainstorm-like fist fell on Feng Sihai. Bang bang bang. It's almost there. Feng Sihai finished speaking and punched out. Bang. The two fists collided, and Tang Long's body flew out instantly, hitting the ground heavily, and he couldn't get up for a while. This time, everyone was dumbfounded, and Ji Yu Wenchen also grew his mouth in shock. Lin Tianyu's body trembled slightly. He did not expect Feng Sihai's strength to be so strong. Lin Tianyu, who was trembling in his heart, secretly set his eyes on David. Now, I am afraid that only David can hold down that Feng Sihai. Tang Long, who fell to the ground, tried his best to get up, but he failed twice. You, who did you learn your hard qigong from? Tang Long asked in shock. Yi Fengchun, do you know each other? Feng Sihai stood up straight and said. Hearing this name, Tang Long's face suddenly changed greatly, he looked very afraid, and Lin Tianyu's body was shaking like a sieve. Obviously this person, they both know each other, and they are amazing. However, the others did not respond, apparently unfamiliar with this name. Yi, who is Master Yi? Tang Long asked. That's my master, and I learned this hard qigong from him. As soon as Feng Sihai's voice fell, Tang Long suddenly looked depressed, sighed, and shook his head slightly. No wonder I'm not your opponent, it turns out that you have already apprenticed to Master Yi, I admit defeat. Tang Long actually conceded defeat. He, who was going to work hard, conceded defeat when he heard the words Yi Fengchun. David frowned slightly, looked at Lin Tianyu and said, who is this Yi Fengchun? Mr. Chen, Yi Fengchun is a master of ancient martial arts with very strong internal strength. No one knows his true strength. I heard that Master Yi is now able to pick leaves and hurt people. When Lin Tianyu talked about Yi Fengchun, his heart was still full of lingering fears. Pickling leaves hurts people. David smiled slightly. Is that so? David said, picked up a toothpick, flicked his fingers, and the toothpick instantly shot at Feng Sihai. Feng Sihai didn't have time to react at all, he was instantly hit by a toothpick on his arm, and only a small section of the whole toothpick was still exposed.